Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today, we will talk about one of the 4 planes of childhood development. Now we want this video to be a map of reference, if you will, when our child is born. Now, what are the 4 planes of childhood development? Now, according to Dr. Montessori, it starts from birth and ends around 24 years of age. Each plane happens about every 6 years. The first plane is from birth to 6 years old, the second from 6 to 12, the third from 12 to 18, and the fourth from 18 to 24. Now, doesn't that really sound like preschool, elementary school, junior high school, and university? All right, anyway. Now, why 24 years old? It turns out that the prefrontal cortex in the brain, which is the decision-making part of the brain, now it doesn't fully develop, or it doesn't finish developing until around 24 years old. Now once it's developed, adulthood begins and we can say thank you and goodbye to childhood. Actually, that's pretty sad in my opinion, but that's just me. Now since our child will be born soon, our focus will be on the first plane of development, which is basically birth to 6 years old. This first plane can be broken down even further into 3 parts. The first part is infancy, from birth to a year old. The second is toddler, which is from a year old to 3. And the final part is preschool, which is from 3 to 6 years old. During this first plane, the plan is for our child to go from being physically dependent to collaborative and finally independent. Now, of course, it won't be easy because our child will go through the most dramatic changes during this first plane of development compared to the other 3. Now, this means that their emotions will be very high, or pretty intense, if you will. And we as parents will need to stay stable and not really follow them emotionally when this happens. Stay zen-like, let's say. Usually when you hear of Dr. Montessori, you usually hear the words, the absorbent mind. Basically, when our child is born, they are literally like sponges. So they will be taking in or absorbing everything around them easily. This is how children are able to learn their mother language, for example. Now, they do so subconsciously, and the subconscious is their inner guide or inner teacher, if you will. And they also absorb the emotions of their parents as well. So from what I've read so far, it is best for us to be as honest as possible when speaking to our child. Now, when our child is in the preschool part of the first plane, their absorbent mind will become conscious. And this is where the child will start to ask why or how, if you will. In the Montessori from the Start book by Paula Polk Lillard and Lynn Lillard Jesse, from birth to age 3, children will explore the world sensorially or through their senses. And the tools needed for learning about the world need to be real things in the world, not imaginative. So for example, like sand, plants, wood, and even dirt, if you will. This gives knowledge of the world that they are born into. Now, products of adult fantasy, like television, cartoons, and videos, they don't really give knowledge of the real world. So unfortunately, I won't be showing Star Wars anytime soon to my child. By exploring the real world, this will create the foundation for their imagination and creative thought, which is going to be really important for them in elementary school. Now, the more experiences they have during these early years, the deeper their imagination will be. As mentioned in the previous video, when we talked about Monty Kids, Zara Kassam, the CEO of Monty Kids, has said that the most dramatic growth occurs before age 3, when 85% of the brain is formed or developed. Now, she goes on to say that brain development is cumulative. So the early years, they lay the foundation for future learning, and that genes in the brain are either turned on or turned off during these experiences. Now think about what she is saying for a second. Now, to say it another way, or to paraphrase Dr. Montessori herself, the first plane of development is to plant the seed for learning. Now, as always, we hope that this gives a brief understanding of one of the planes of childhood development. So as always, please take care, stay safe, and see you next time.